the hills of Wales, where the wild winds blow, live the crazy Celts from long ago. With woad on their cheeks and lime in their hair, they dance with the druids and wrestled a bear. Our crazy Celts, loud and proud, painted blue and shouting loud. Roundhouse rebels, sheep in tow, history's wildest, now let's go.
Well, now, look who's wandered into my roundhouse. Come in, come in. Mind the goat. She's moody today. Welcome to Crazy Celts, the podcast where history isn't just taught, it's worn, dyed, and occasionally set on fire. I'm Caradog, farmer by trade, fashion icon by accident, and today, we're talking about Celtic clothes and hairdos. That's right, the ancient Welsh wardrobe, the original runway, the prehistoric catwalk, and let me tell you, it was fabulous. Now I know what you're thinking. Caradog, surely you lot just wore mud and shouted at trees. Rude. We shouted at trees, yes, but we did it in style. Let's start with the tunic. The bread and butter of Celtic fashion. Everyone wore one, men, women, children, even the village pig once, though that was a prank, and ended in chaos. Tunics were made of wool. Thick, itchy and perfect for surviving a Welsh winter or a surprise boar attack. Mine's brown, with a splash of green from that time I fell in the cabbage patch. Very earthy, very now. Over the tunic we wore cloaks. Big, dramatic cloaks that billowed in the wind and made us look mysterious, even if we were just popping out to milk the cow. My cloaks fastened with a brooch shaped like a boar. Why? Because nothing says, "Don't mess with me," like a pig on your chest. Now shoes, or as I call them, foot sacks. We had leather sandals, sometimes boots, but mostly we just wrapped our feet in whatever wasn't currently being worn by a sheep. I once wore bark. Not recommended. Splinters in places you don't want splinters. But the real magic? The hair. Oh, the hair. You haven't lived until you've seen a Celtic warrior with a lime-spiked mohawk charging down a hill, screaming like a banshee and looking like a porcupine that's been electrocuted. Lime paste, that's what we used, not the fruit, mind you, the chalky stuff. Mix it with water, slap it on your scalp and boom, instant volume. Also instant itch. But beauty is pain, right? My cousin Madog once tried a double mohawk. Lime paste, goose fat, and a sprinkle of ash for color. He looked like a startled badger. The druids said it was spiritually alarming. I said it was a fire hazard. And don't get me started on face paint. Woad, that's the stuff. Blue as a summer sky, and twice as terrifying. We'd paint swirls, stripes, and occasionally rude messages if we were feeling cheeky. I once painted "Nice try Romans" across my forehead. They didn't laugh. I did, right before I legged it into the woods. Women wore jewelry, lots of it. Bronze bracelets, shiny necklaces, and earrings that could double as door knockers. My Aunt Illyri had a Torc so big she couldn't turn her head. She once got stuck in a doorway. We had to butter her out. And colors, don't let anyone tell you we were drab. We dyed our clothes with plants, madder for red, weld for yellow, and woad for blue. My mate Owain wore a tunic so bright it scared the chickens. They refused to lay eggs for a week. Now I know what you're thinking. Caradog, did you ever wear sheep? Yes I did. Not like a jumper. I mean literally. I once strapped a sheepskin to my back and pretended to be a warrior from the northern tribes. It was warm, fluffy, and smelled like regret. But I looked magnificent. Until the sheep realized I'd nicked its coat and chased me through 3 fields and a sacred grove. We didn't have mirrors, so we judged our looks by how many people gasped when we entered a room. If your hair made a child cry, you were winning. If your cloak billowed dramatically in the wind while you shouted something heroic, you were a legend. If your lime mohawk caught fire during a ritual, well, you were Madog. And let's talk seasonal fashion. In winter it was all about layers, tunic, cloak, extra tunic, emergency goat. In summer, we went breezy, shorter tunics, sandals, and a lot of complaining about sunburn. Woad doesn't help with that, by the way. I tried. I turned blue and scared a druid. Speaking of druids, they had their own look, long robes, leafy accessories, and beards that could house small birds. My uncle Geraint was a druid. His beard once hosted a nest of wrens. He called it spiritually enriching. I called it a health hazard. And don't forget the warriors, they had the best gear. Iron helmets, leather armor, and cloaks that screamed, "I'm here to fight," and look fabulous. Some even wore animal skins: bear, wolf, badger. One lad wore a fox and got chased by a pack of dogs. It was awkward. Now let's talk hair. Real hair. Warrior hair. Hair that says, "I'm here to fight, feast, and frighten livestock." We Celts didn't just style our hair, we sculpted it. Lime paste was our secret weapon. Not the fruity kind you squeeze on fish. I mean the chalky, fizzy stuff that bubbles when you mix it with water and makes your scalp tingle like 1,000 ants doing a conga. You'd slap it on, shape it into spikes, and let it dry in the wind. Instant mohawk, instant intimidation, instant regret if you got caught in the rain. I once saw a warrior named Bledin with a lime crest so tall he couldn't fit through the roundhouse door. He had to crawl in sideways like a crab. Very majestic. Now lime paste wasn't just for looks, it was a statement: I'm fierce, I'm fearless, I'm flammable. My cousin Madog, you remember him, once added goose fat to his lime mix for extra shine. Unfortunately, he stood too close to the solstice bonfire and, well, let's just say he now goes by Bald Madog. Hair wasn't just for warriors. Even farmers like me got in on the action. For festivals, I'd twist my hair into loops, sprinkle it with crushed berries for color, and add feathers for flair. One year, I used pheasant feathers. The pheasant wasn't pleased, chased me halfway to the sacred grove. And the kids, oh, they loved it. Little lime spikes, tiny braids, and once, I swear this is true, a toddler with a hedgehog strapped to his head. His mum said it was symbolic. I said it was a health risk. Now, face paint. Woad. The blue stuff. The good stuff. We grew it, crushed it, boiled it, and smeared it all over ourselves like blueberry jam with attitude. Swirls, stripes, dots, spirals. Each pattern meant something. Courage, protection. I got bored and found a stick. Before battle, we'd gather in the clearing, strip to the waist, and paint each other like angry smurfs. I once painted a dragon on my chest. It looked more like a confused duck, but the Romans didn't know that. They ran, I cheered, then I tripped over a squirrel. Woad wasn't just for war. We used it for ceremonies, dances, and dramatic entrances. My Aunt Illyri once painted her entire face blue for a wedding. She said it was a tribute to the goddess of rivers. The bride said it was a bit much. And the druids, oh, they took it to another level. Full body woad, beard woad, even toe woad. My uncle Geraint once painted his feet blue and claimed it helped him connect with the earth. He slipped on a mossy rock and connected with a tree instead. Now let's talk meaning. Clothes weren't just clothes, they told stories. A bright red cloak, you were rich. A cloak with boar tusks, you were a warrior. A cloak made of moss and regret, you were probably Madog. Jewelry had meaning too. A torc wasn't just a necklace, it was a badge of honor: bronze for bravery, silver for status, gold for, I stole this from a Roman. My Aunt Illyri's torc was so big it had its own gravitational pull, birds nested in it. She called it fashion with function. Even shoes had status. Leather boots meant you were important, bark sandals meant you were desperate. I once wore fish skins. Not on purpose, it was a dare. I smelled like haddock for a week. And dyes, oh the dyes. We used madder root for red, weld for yellow, and woad for blue. My mate Owain once tried to invent a new color by mixing all three. He called it mud. It was accurate. Now, you might ask, Caradog, did you ever invent a fashion trend? Yes I did. I once wore a cloak made entirely of goose feathers. I called it the honker. It was warm, waterproof, and wildly unpopular. The geese staged a protest. I had to apologize with a basket of berries and a heartfelt poem. Fashion was also seasonal. In winter, we layered up: tunic, cloak, extra tunic, emergency goat. In summer, we went breezy: shorter tunics, sandals, and a lot of complaining about sunburn. Woad doesn't help with that, by the way. I tried, I turned blue and scared a druid. And let's not forget the festivals. Beltane, Samhain, Lugnasad. Each one had its own look. Beltane was all about flowers and fire. Samhain, dark cloaks and spooky masks. Lugnasad, tunics dyed with grain juice and a hat made of bread. Don't ask. Right, that's part 2. Want me to roll straight into part 3? It'll wrap up with comic skits, interactive moments, and how Celtic fashion still echoes through Welsh culture today. Let's finish this in style. Now I know what you're thinking, Caradog, this all sounds brilliant, but what if I want to dress like a Celt today? Well, lucky for you, I've got tips. First, find a tunic. Doesn't have to be wool, a long t-shirt will do, bonus points if it smells faintly of sheep. Next, the cloak. Grab a blanket, tie it with a shoelace. Boom! Instant Celtic drama. Walk slowly, let it flap. Turn suddenly and shout something mysterious like, "The boar rises," or, "I smell mead." For shoes, wrap your feet in old tea towels. Not historically accurate but very absorbent, and for the full effect, lime paste. Now, I don't recommend using actual lime, your scalp will sue you. Try whipped cream, or mashed potato, or just spike your hair with gel and yell, "I am Boudica's cousin." Now let's play a game, it's called Would You Wear It? I'll describe a Celtic outfit and you decide, yes or no. Outfit 1, tunic made of nettles, cloak made of goose feathers, shoes made of bark and a hat shaped like a badger. Would you wear it? Outfit 2, blue woad face paint, lime mohawk, bronze torque, and a belt made of squirrel tails. Would you wear it? Outfit 3, nothing but a painted message across your chest that says, "Nice try, Romans." Would you wear it? If you said yes to any of those, congratulations, you're officially bonkers and I love you. Now let me tell you about the time we held a fashion show in the village. It was Beltane, the fire festival. Everyone was feeling dramatic. I decided to host Celtic Couture, the runway of the roundhouse. First up, Madog. He wore a cloak made of moss, a helmet made of turnips, and boots filled with porridge. He called it Swamp Warrior. He slipped, fell and was eaten by ducks, not literally, but emotionally. Next, Aunt O'Leary. She strutted in wearing a Torcs so big it had its own postcode. Her cloak was embroidered with tiny sheep. Real ones. They kept bang. She won, most likely to cause a stampede. Then came me. I wore a tunic dyed with beetroot, a cloak made of hay and a crown of carrots. I called it Harvest King. The goats called it Lunch. I was nibbled. It was awkward. But the winner, little Rodri, he wore a simple tunic, a blue painted face and a smile so wide it made the druids cry. He said, "I'm a warrior of joy." We gave him a trophy made of cheese, he ate it. Legend.